We are. It is 6 o'clock on the last day of lame duck, and state lawmakers still haven't approved a roads deal.
Party leaders reached a compromise this morning that would require you to give final approval on the May ballot. It would do several things, include raise the state sales tax from 6 to 7%, adding $1.2 billion for roads. But tonight, lawmakers still have not signed off on that plan.
We are all over this story tonight with team coverage. Joe LaFurgie is looking at, if this is passed, how they'll try to sell the plan to voters.
But first, let's go live to Lansing. Political reporter Rick Albin is working his sources, trying to find out when there will be a vote. Rick?
We're in the state capitol, not just in the state capitol, but in the room that some of those very important decisions are made. You don't see us live here often. This is the caucus room for the state Senate Majority Leader Randy Richardville, kind enough to join us back here. Senator, this is your last legislative day. This may be some of the biggest legislation you've ever tried to pass. How daunting is this task, and how sure are you that you're going to have something to vote on from the House?
Well, daunting would be the right word, I suppose. We started about a year and a half, 2 years ago, seriously trying to attack the road issue, and we entertained so many different options and ideas. But in the last week or two, we put everything aside, brought all the different proposals together, and the governor and the speaker and lieutenant governor, the minority leaders and myself sat in a room on and off for several days in a row and hammered out something that we think we could all live with. And it doesn't just solve the problem in the short term, but in the long term.
You mentioned earlier today, and some have been talking about it in the rotunda, that there is no legislative component to this to the degree that if it fails at the ballot, assuming that the House passes it and that you pass it in the Senate, if it fails at the ballot, there's no backfill. That's not exactly what you wanted. It's not exactly what the governor wanted, but this is the plan you could get, right?
That's exactly right. I mean, a legislative solution would have been somewhat temporary, would have been more short-term, and we knew that we could improve upon that product. The votes that we needed to get a short-term legislative fix weren't there, and there were too many gives and takes. So what we said was, let's go for a long-term, more quality kind of answer, amend the Constitution to do that, keep the money at the pumps going toward the roads, and then fund schools better than what they funded on a more stable basis. And by amending the Constitution, the people have to vote at the ballot come May. And that'll be a good time, I think, because the pothole season will remind them of what the roads are like. We've got enough funding to get us through this next construction season, and this will help us get ready for the next construction season.
The big heavy lift may first be in the House. Are you confident if they pass it that you've got 2/3 majority in the Senate?
Well, I'd be surprised if not. You know, we have a lot of legislative action that goes along with it. There's about 13 bills plus a couple of resolutions. One amends the Constitution. That'll probably be one of the last things that comes over. We put up 16 votes in this caucus last time. You need 18 to have 2/3 of the Republicans. So we're within 2 votes. On the other side, I think that Senator Whitmer and her team, who only put up 2 the first time, could put up 10 or 12, and that would be enough to pass the constitutional amendment.
It takes 26 in the Senate.
That's exactly right.
Senator Richardville, we appreciate your time. We appreciate your service, too, and thank you so much for talking with us at this critical juncture in this legislation.
Thanks, Rick. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and, you know, my old friends back in West Michigan, say hi for me, okay?
All right, I'll do it. Thank you. Senator Randy Richardville. Well, there you heard it from him. The House will take it up first. We're being told that may not happen until after 8 o'clock tonight. We, of course, will be here and keep you updated all through the evening. Live in Lansing, Rick Albin, 24-Hour News 8.
All right, the clock is ticking. Thank you, Rick. So here's a breakdown on the costs. If this does make it to your ballot in May, the tax increases would amount to more than $2.5 billion. That includes an increased sales tax, increases in gas taxes, and a hike on your car registration. But it includes savings also, like eliminating a sales tax on gas and getting money back on an earned income tax credit. So when it's all said and done, this proposal would cost all of us about $1.6 billion.